The image I'm showing you now, it's from the glorious Acropolis in Athens. And this rock is called the Areopagus. It's a proeminent rock, a very important rock, the one you see on the bottom right corner. And it was here that Saint Paul gave his very famous speech. Finally, we are entering the topic of my paintings. What you heard so far was just a warm-up about opposites, light and darkness, being actually twins. In this rock, Saint Paul preached, and there was a man called Dionysius. He's called Dionysios the Areopagite because he was in this rock, the Areopagus. And according to the legend, Dionysius wrote a series of texts that are exceedingly mystical. In those texts, he talks about the importance of contradictions, that they all come from the same principle. We know nowadays that this is not true. Dionysius did not write those texts. He lived on the 1st century. The texts are notoriously Neoplatonic, so they belong to the 5th century. Okay? The texts were written almost 500 years after Dionysius died. But the writer of the texts, he says that he is Dionysios the Areopagite. So nowadays he's not called Dionysios the Areopagite, he's called Pseudo-Dionysius the Areopagite, because it's not true. It's Pseudo-Dionysius. Pseudo-Dionysius is now here represented on an Orthodox painting in the Byzantine style. Pseudo-Dionysius talked about the darkness that is so bright that you cannot look at it. So he talks about the darkness that is so bright. Listen to this, the contradiction again. The darkness that is much brighter than the sun, so you cannot look at it. Initially, this seems like a total contradiction. It's describing the glory of God, but it makes sense if you think every time you looked at the sun directly, what you start seeing in the middle on top of the sun? A black stain. Your eyes cannot take the light. And because they don't take the light, they go blind. So, the light that is infinitely bright will create total pitch blackness. The metaphors of his language are expressing that opposites can be together and be the same phenomenon. That's why he describes the extreme brightness of the blackness. Do you understand now? I'm trying really to pull you towards the power of metaphors, because metaphors have a kind of wisdom that cannot be transmitted through common language. As you always knew better in the East. In the West, we don't use metaphors at all. They're banned. Look at the halo. Instead of gold, real gold usually, halos represent immortality, and they also represent the brightness of the divine light. They are like a sun. So when you look at halos, they're usually yellow, the color of gold. But in this case, Dionysius is represented with a blue halo. What does that mean? It's the first color you start seeing when you look at the sun. When you start going blind, you see blue. Because we are staring at the bright light and we are becoming blind. The darkness that is too bright to look at.